Whole communities go up in smoke as rebel and loyalist families make war on each other. And now, the brutality of the revolution will engulf another nation. The winter of 1775 has begun turning the river to ice when the ship Adamant clears the St. Lawrence and sets sail for England. On board is a passenger carrying a bold proposition for King George. Joseph Brant is a chief of the Mohawk tribe, but on this mission he will be the emissary for the Six Nations Confederacy, the Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, Mohawk, and Tuscarora. The onslaught of white settlers has already begun to squeeze the tribes from their lands in northern New York. Now they fear an independent United States will swallow up what remains. This is what drove Joseph Brant to sail across an ocean to appeal to the King of England.
The Mohawks have been treated very badly in that country. Indeed, it is very hard when we have let them have so much of our land for so little value. They should want to cheat us of the small spots we have left for our women and children to live on. We are tired out in making complaints and getting no redress.
Brant causes a sensation in London society. His Mohawk name is Tyondenaga, he who places two bets. Educated and able to read and write English, Brant is indeed a man of two worlds. Journalists clamor for interviews. He tells them what he chiefly admires in London are the ladies and the horses. But his real business here is to make a deal. And by the time he sits for the artist George Romney, he has it. Britain agrees to safeguard Indian lands in America, and in return, Brant will raise the tomahawk against the king's enemies. But Brant returns home to find his people divided. The Six Nations have been split by the white man's war. 4 of the tribes agree to fight for the British. But the Oneidas and the Tuscaroras choose the rebel side. Throughout the Revolution, Six Nations warriors fight in every major battle in the North. Brant's volunteers are so effective, they become the most hated men in the United States. Stories spread of atrocities real and imagined. The rebels respond with a ruthless new tactic.
The immediate objects are the total devastation of their settlements and the capture of as many prisoners of every age and sex as possible. Parties should be dispatched to lay waste all the settlements around, with instructions to do it in the most effectual manner, that the country not be merely overrun, but destroyed. George Washington.
About sunrise, the general gave orders for the town to be illuminated, and accordingly we had a glorious bonfire of upwards of 30 buildings at once. A melancholy and desperate spectacle to the Indians, many of whom must have beheld it from a neighboring hill.
In just 2 months, Washington's orders do more damage to the Six Nations than 5 years of war have done. The Indians are driven out, their villages burned, fields and orchards laid waste, their burial grounds defiled. In September 1779, General John Sullivan, future governor of New Hampshire, reports on his success.
Every creek and river has been traced, and the whole country explored in search of Indian settlements. And I am well persuaded that there is not a single town left in the country of the Six Nations.
Joseph Brant watches as his people become refugees on their own land.
We, the Indians, wish to have the blow returned on the enemy as early as possible. But I'm afraid it will again be but a trifling affair. We think the rebels will ruin us at last if we go on as we do, 1 year after another, doing nothing. We are in between two hells. Let us have an expedition early in the spring. Let us not hang our heads between our knees.
Brant's warriors fight on for 2 more years, but the tide has turned. The Six Nations will be forced to start again in a new land. In the fall of 1781, at Yorktown, Virginia, the British suffer their final defeat of the war. General Charles Cornwallis is forced to surrender an army of more than 7,000 men. The war will drag on for another 2 years, but the Loyalists know it is over. And for many, defeat holds a terrifying prospect. The revolution has triggered the first mass escape in the history of American slavery.
To every Negro who shall desert the rebel standard, full security to follow within the British lines.
That British promise has inspired the flight to freedom of tens of thousands of black slaves. They pour into New York City, where they hope the British can still protect them. But even here, stories spread that they are being hunted down.
This dreadful rumor filled us with inexpressible anguish and terror, especially when we saw our old masters coming from Virginia, North Carolina, and other parts, and seizing upon their slaves in the streets of New York, or even dragging them out of their beds.
Boston King was born a slave in South Carolina. The war has set him on a journey that will take him halfway around the world. By 1783, New York City is teeming with Loyalist refugees and the remains of the British Army, perhaps 70,000 souls in all. For many, it is the last stop before exile. Some, like Connecticut Loyalist Stephen Jarvis, tried to go home, but found only hostility.
An old man, an Irishman, came to see me to warn me to be on my guard as the militia were coming to mob me. I saw many who I knew, went up to them and offered my hand. One of them, who seemed to be their leader, addressed me in these words: "Jarvis, you must leave this town immediately. Now we won't hurt you. But if you are seen within 30 miles of this place by sundown, you must abide by the consequences.
Like Boston King, Jarvis flees to New York City to be evacuated. That summer of 1783, the harbor is full of British ships, nearly 200 of them. And every day, more and more Loyalists are leaving. From the south, thousands have already fled to Jamaica, the Bahamas, and the West Indies. Some sail home to Britain, but the majority of Loyalists, 35,000, choose to go north to the rocky Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia. Hannah Ingraham, now reunited with her father, is among the last to leave.
Father said we were to go to Nova Scotia, that a ship was ready to take us there. This was September. The transport that was to bring us to St. John was the last transport of the season and had on board all those who could not come sooner.
The Loyalists will profoundly change the land that gives them refuge, building new communities out of the wilderness and laying the foundations of a separate nation.
It is, I think, the roughest land I ever saw. But this is to be our city, they say. Sarah Frost.
I climbed to the top of Chipman's Hill and watched the sails disappear. Although I had not shed a tear throughout all the war, I sat down on the damp moss with my baby in my lap and cried. Sarah Tilley.
The flood of refugee Loyalists that lands on the shores of Nova Scotia nearly triples the population overnight. The Caldwells and the Dodds, the Mackays, the Moodys, the Thompsons. Surveyors frantically lay out town sites and homesteads. But as fleet after fleet brings new arrivals, John Parr, the colony's governor, is overwhelmed.
A considerable number of refugee families, destitute of almost everything, must be provided for, chiefly women and children, as I have not yet been able to find any sort of place for them, and the cold setting in severe.
20,000 refugees flood into the coastal towns of Yarmouth, Annapolis Royal, Antigonish. Whole communities spring up where nothing existed before. Many spend their first winter in tents or crowded into army barracks, surviving on rations doled out from street kitchens.
I hired a hovel for $40 a year, and in this wretched abode we remained for several weeks. I purchased a town lot, commenced building, and opened a small store of goods. In October, we got into our new dwellings as happy as princes. But my poor wife suffered greatly from the dampness of the walls, and on the 9th of January, 1785, was delivered of a dead son.
Stephen Jarvis joins the wave of new settlers that spread up the St. John River, creating the towns of St. John, Queenston, Gagetown, and Fredericton. It is here that Hannah Ingraham's family settles. They spent their first winter in tents, but by spring, Hannah's father has built their first rough home.
There was no floor laid, no windows, no door, but we had a roof at least. A good fire was blazing, and Mother boiled a kettle of water. We all sat at our breakfast that morning, and Mother said, "Thank God we are no longer in danger of having shots fired through our house. This is the sweetest meal I ever tasted."
Hannah Ingraham never married and never left Fredericton. She lived to be 97, long enough to see the beginning of the age of photography. The exodus of Loyalists continues through the summer and fall of 1783. At the port of Roseway, there are sometimes upwards of 30 ships unloading their human cargo. A few miles away, on a rocky, desolate stretch of shoreline, the largest free black settlement on the continent has begun. But most of the black Loyalists in Birchtown never get the land or the provisions the British promised. When the blacks take menial jobs in nearby Shelburne, white workers start riots and drive them out. They have escaped one kind of slavery only to face another.
Many of my black brethren were obliged to sell themselves to the merchants, some for 2 or 3 years, others for 5 or 6 years. Several fell down dead in the streets through hunger. Some killed and ate their dogs and cats. Poverty and distress prevailed on every side, so that, to my great grief, I was compelled to leave Birchtown.
In January 1792, Boston King and 1,200 other black Loyalists board a fleet of ships hired by the Sierra Leone Company. They leave to join a new colony of free blacks in West Africa, though they continue to call themselves Nova Scotians. But despite the hardships, most of the black Loyalists chose to stay and put down roots. Former slaves became landowners and builders. It was another 40 years before slavery was formally abolished in British North America. By then, a generation of black Loyalist descendants had grown up in Nova Scotia as free men and women.
Colonel Butler says that his people would rather go to Japan than go back among the Americans, where they could never live in peace. Colonel Alan MacLean.
Ontario is still a wilderness called the Upper Country when the men of Butler's Rangers face a new reality. The Niagara Peninsula was their base of operations during the Revolution. Now it will be home. Private Peter Bowman has been at war since he turned 13. Now at age 20, the warrior will become a farmer.
My father settled on his land near the Falls of Niagara. The government found seed to plant and sow the first year. Men, women, and children all went to work clearing the land.
It is the price of backing the Revolution's losing side. The Bowmans have left behind a homestead. The Iroquois have lost lands their people held for centuries.
When we heard peace was made between His Majesty and the Americans, we were struck with astonishment at learning we were forgot in the treaty. We could not believe it possible that such firm friends and allies could be so neglected by a nation remarkable for its honor and glory, for whom we had served with so much zeal and fidelity.
Britain tries to carve out lands for the Iroquois in the peace treaty, but the Americans refuse. In the fall of 1784, Brant leads 1,800 of his people to a new homeland on the banks of the Grand River. What they lost in the land of their ancestors, they will rebuild in the land of their future. At the other end of Lake Ontario, thousands of Loyalists are taking up their land along the St. Lawrence River. Settlements are springing up between Cornwall and Kingston.
I baptize you in the name of the Father.
By 1791, the Upper Country has the fastest growing population on the continent, and the Loyalists begin agitating to be recognized as a colony separate from Quebec, a colony where they can have a role in governing themselves.
The congregation of Christ's flock.
Loyalist settlers have already convinced Britain to divide Nova Scotia, creating the new colony of New Brunswick with its own elected assembly. In London, Colonial Secretary William Grenville now fears if he does not also divide Quebec, the French Canadians and the British Loyalists will never live in peace.
If these two bodies and classes of men, differing in their prejudices and perhaps in their interests, were to be consolidated into one legislative body, dissensions and animosities might probably prevail. It should seem, therefore, that the natural remedy for this would be the separation of the province into two districts.
In June 1791, Quebec is divided into the colonies of Upper and Lower Canada, each with its own governor and elected assembly. In the next few years, under the stewardship of John Graves Simcoe, Upper Canada will change dramatically. He offers free land, attracting a new brand of settler. American pioneers from New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey and Connecticut. Lady Elizabeth Simcoe is astounded at their numbers.
A great many settlers come daily from the United States, some even from the Carolinas, about 2,000 miles away. 500 or 600 miles is no more considered by an American than moving to the next parish is by an Englishman.
Soon, the American settlers outnumber the Loyalists in Upper Canada by 4 to 1. And these new arrivals have no particular allegiance to the British Crown. At the time, that didn't seem to matter. But within 15 years, Canada will be in peril, and the question of loyalty will haunt those who must defend it. On the 21st of January, 1793, Louis XVI, King of France, climbed a scaffold in Paris. The Catholic priest, Father de Fermont, steadied his arm.
It was all over in a few moments. The youngest of the executioners took hold of the head and brandished it around the people gathered at the scaffold. Soon a few cries of Vive la République could be heard. Then the shouts multiplied, and this chant became the cry of thousands.
The killing of a king helped propel the second great revolution of the century, and it launched a war in Europe that would spill across the ocean to North America. Canada would begin the new century with a fight for survival. A war that would decide the future of two nations. And extinguish the dreams of a third. It is more than a month before news of the king's execution reaches Quebec City in Lower Canada. Whatever the Canadiens may have thought about the French Revolution before, now it turns to revulsion. Philippe Aubert de Gaspé never forgot the day the news arrived.
Suddenly my father leaped from his chair, his eyes aflame. He cried, "Infamous beast! They have guillotined their king!"
The chaos and brutality of the revolution drive a wedge between France and her former colony, but British leaders cannot see it. When Sir James Craig, the new governor, arrives in 1806, all he can see is a province of 300,000 people where the French language, the seigneur, and the Catholic Church still rule.
They are in their hearts French yet. And whatever attachment they may affect to feel to the government, yet there would not be 50 dissenting voices to a proposition for their re-annexation to France. The general opinion among the English part of the inhabitants is that they would even join an American force, if that force were commanded by a French officer.
Britain has now been at war with France almost continuously for 13 years, and Quebec City is afire with rumors. The French fleet is poised to invade, the Canadiens ready to rise up in revolt, backed by Napoleon's troops. The Quebec Mercury, the voice of the English minority, fans the flames.
This province is already too much of a French province for an English colony. To unfrenchify it as much as possible, if I may be allowed the phrase, should be a primary objective. After 47 years of possession of Quebec, it is time the province should be English.
But Lower Canada is no threat to Britain. The Canadiens have embraced the British parliamentary system and the concept of free elections. The most powerful man in the Assembly is Pierre Bédard, a baker's son with a genius for politics.
In what essential point are Canadian subjects different from English subjects? Cannot a Canadien be, and is he not in reality, English in his love of English liberty, in his attachment to the English government, and his aversion for French principles? Does loyalty consist in identity of language?
Bédard has long been a thorn in the governor's side, but their feud escalates when Bédard and his supporters buy a printing press. On the editorial pages of the newspaper Le Canadien, Bédard asserts the right of the elected assembly to make policy, attacking the governor's appointed officials.
This son of a baker, who possesses the best abilities of the lot, is by far the most dangerous of the set. Those who know him best do not scruple to give it as their opinion that there are no lengths to which he is not capable of going.
Dissent has also found a voice in the neighboring province of Upper Canada. In that assembly, it is an Irishman who leads the opposition to the governor, and, like Bédard, he too publishes a newspaper. On the pages of the Upper Canadian Guardian, Joseph Wilcox attacks the administration so viciously he will twice be charged with libel.
Methinks I am of much more consequence than I thought myself to be. I am flattered at being ranked among the enemies of the king's servants in this colony. I glory in the distinction. Is it truth, and a constant adherence to the interest of the country, that has excited so much alarm among this band of sycophantic office hunters, pensioners, and pimps?
The British governors cannot tolerate dissent, for Britain now fears it is heading towards a second war with the Americans. Opposition in the Canadas will not be forgiven. In Upper Canada, Joseph Wilcox is sent to jail for criminal libel. He will turn to treason before the war is over. In Quebec City, Pierre Bédard publishes a statement assuring the governor that he can count on the loyalty of the Canadiens.
What would be the consequences if Canada were invaded by the United